They laughed at first. They said it was too ambitious, too expensive, too pas social for a public market. But when one city in the Visayas decided to turn its aging palenques into modern, architect-designed, flood-resistant, business-ready hubs, the entire region suddenly had opinions. This is the story of how Iloilo City upgraded its public markets and accidentally triggered the region. Let's be honest. For decades, the image of a traditional public market in many Philippine cities was predictable. Wet floors, poor drainage, dim lighting, chaotic layout, and infrastructure that looked like it survived 3 typhoons and 1 political dynasty. It was traditional. It was authentic. It was also outdated. Most cities accepted it, because that's how it's always been. But Iloilo didn't. Instead of romanticizing dysfunction, the city asked a dangerous question. What if public markets actually looked like the future? And that question made people uncomfortable. When Iloilo began redeveloping major markets like Caro, La Paz, and Arevalo, this wasn't just repainting walls, this was demolition and rebirth. Structured layouts, better ventilation, modern facades, flood mitigating design, organized vendor sections, cleaner food handling spaces. Markets were no longer just survival spaces, they became statements. The message: we respect tradition, but we refuse to freeze in time. And suddenly, other cities noticed. Of course, the backlash was immediate. Too expensive, unnecessary. Why fix something that isn't broken? Public markets should look traditional. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes tradition is just another word for tolerated inefficiency. Modernizing doesn't erase culture. It upgrades dignity. Vendors now operate in safer, cleaner environments. Customers shop without stepping into ankle-deep puddles. Sanitation improved. Urban design improved. Property values nearby improved. But the real trigger? It exposed what other cities weren't doing. In the Visayas, cities compete quietly. Tourism, investments, infrastructure, branding. And when Iloilo started showcasing modernized public markets alongside the Esplanade, business districts, and heritage zones, it changed the narrative. Public markets stopped being low priority. They became indicators of governance. Suddenly, people in other cities started asking, if they can do it, why can't we? That question is powerful and dangerous because it forces comparison. Here's what outsiders don't understand. A public market is not just a building. It's economic bloodstream. It's where small vendors survive, where local farmers sell, where community identity lives. Anyone can build a mall with private money, but upgrading a public market, that's political will. That's urban planning. That's saying, our grassroots economy deserves quality too. Iloilo didn't just beautify, it legitimized small businesses with infrastructure that matched their value. That's not cosmetic, that's strategic. The real reason the makeover triggered the region? Standards changed. Once people experience clean restrooms, organized stalls, proper waste systems, flood-resilient structures, thoughtful design, they don't want to go back. Expectations rise, and rising expectations pressure leaders. Modern markets quietly raise the bar. Now, it's okay doesn't feel good enough. Let's not romanticize. There were challenges, vendor relocations, adjustment periods, budget scrutiny, political noise. Change is uncomfortable, but stagnation is more expensive long-term. Infrastructure either evolves or embarrasses you later. Iloilo chose evolution. This wasn't about tiles and roofing. It was about mindset. A city that upgrades its public markets signals something deeper. It plans long-term. It invests in everyday citizens. It understands branding is built from the ground up. Because here's the truth. If your public market looks neglected, what does that say about your priorities? Iloilo understood that image matters, not for ego, but for momentum. The makeover wasn't loud. There was no dramatic national spotlight, no viral press conference, just steady construction, consistent upgrades, quiet confidence. And that's what triggered the region most. Because progress without noise? That's the scariest kind. It doesn't ask permission, it just moves forward. Today, Iloilo's modern markets are more than infrastructure. They're proof that public doesn't have to mean poor quality. They show that respecting tradition doesn't mean rejecting progress. And they forced a region to look at its own reflection. Some saw inspiration, others saw pressure. Either way, the standards shifted. And once standards rise, there's no going back. If you believe cities should invest in everyday people, not just skyline photos, if you think public markets deserve the same pride as business districts, then maybe it's time the whole region stepped up. Because progress isn't about copying, it's about catching up. Like, share, and subscribe for more unapologetic takes on the cities shaping the Visayas. This is where we talk about development without filters. And remember, the future doesn't wait for comfort. It rewards courage.